is just a hand so true, loyal until his friend goes number 2. During the heat of the game, it's clear he's a champ when all else disappears. Rally the team with a wink and a cheer. He's the leader that everyone fears. Quickly, it's a real heater. Once my friend, he's a locker room leader. In the chaos, he's the center, turning us into believers.
And ladies and gentlemen, it is Sunday afternoon. It is 2:30 p.m. It is time for the Locker Room Rasslin recap. I am OM Dynamic. We are going to take a look at all of the goings on from the past week on Raw and SmackDown. And yes, we're even going to cover a little bit of Backlash last night. As we are coming off of that show, we are coming to you a little bit earlier today due to familial obligations for Mother's Day. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, to all of the mothers out there, a very, very happy Mother's Day. Thank you for everything you've done for us as your children and shaping us into the men and women that we are today. We are coming off of a very, very hot Backlash that was, dare I say it, better than WrestleMania. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get to Backlash, we had the go-home shows on Raw and on SmackDown. So let's get it started. Monday night, we saw Roman Reigns arriving to the arena with Adam Pearce there to greet him. And Roman was storming right to Gorilla, not even listening to Adam Pearce, ready to get his contract signing underway. When he got to Gorilla, Adam Pearce said, but Jacob Fatu is not here yet. And we had a face-to-face in the back with Roman and Seth Rollins, and Seth said, you're in my way. It left Roman waiting, and Seth Rollins went out and kicked off Monday Night Raw. And ladies and gentlemen, this was vicious. Seth was making his way to the ring when he was attacked from behind by Braun Breaker in the entranceway. That resulted in a brutal beatdown, including a gorilla press slam over the barricade. And Seth eating a few more spears in the ring. And then Braun Breaker walked away, making his way out. Is that you're in my way a foreshadow of things to come for Seth and Roman? I don't know. It's not something I am in a rush to see. It is something that you can build towards, even if you have to wait until WrestleMania. This, again, really put Braun up and over the top, showing him as that dominant new powerhouse on Raw. However, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, we've seen it with guys like Roman Reigns, John Cena, even Seth Rollins. I still see Braun Breaker as being that divisive new guy, and I don't want to go to force down our throats, but when he had that world title match back in January, it was rushed. It felt forced down our throats because he hadn't done anything to deserve that title match. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we had a mentor versus student. Finn Balor once again one-on-one with the Irish ace, JD McDonough. But before we get to that match, we had an interesting little conversation in the locker room between Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez, who would make her presence felt. Liv was questioning why Finn Balor was in the Judgment Day locker room the previous week on Raw, talking to Roxanne. Roxanne assuring Liv, look, I told Finn he wasn't welcome here and that she is part of the Judgment Day. Liv had to ask why she found out from Netflix that Finn was even there. We're still left wondering, is there a point where Roxanne is going to turn on the Judgment Day and align with Finn because he is the one that brought her into the Judgment Day in the first place? Roxanne did pledge her allegiance, saying, I will be sure to come to you with everything that goes on. I will not keep secrets from you or from the Judgment Day. This, again, ladies and gentlemen, teacher versus student, two Irish ass kickers. This was incredible. Incredible. And I wouldn't expect anything less from these two. And at one point, Roxanne Perez even made her way out to the ring, and she stood there looking very stoic, hands clasped behind her back, not doing anything, not getting involved on either side. However, shortly after that, we saw Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez make their way to the ring because they were trying to figure out what was going on. And they walked past Roxanne, who stayed in her spot. Liv went to the far side of the ring. Liv went to her side of the ring. Roxanne went to the opposite corner from Roxanne Perez. Dom jumped up to create a distraction and was caught, tossed by Jessica Carr. And as Liv Morgan was trying to distract Jessica, she tossed something to Roxanne, who caught it. After eating a ring bell then to the throat from Roxanne, JD hits Finn Balor with a headbutt and picks up the pin, giving JD the victory, knotting that series at 1 apiece. Ladies and gentlemen, does Finn Balor need a change of scenery to get himself back into a world title picture? We know that Finn needs something to do, and we know that Finn is going to want to get his hands on Dom again, but I don't really see it. I don't see a need for it. And I don't need to see Finn Balor and JD again. These were fantastic matches both times that they've had them, but enough is enough. I don't need Finn now battling with the Judgment Day. He joined the Judgment Day coming out of a rivalry that he had with them, with AJ Styles and Liv Morgan at his side. But ladies and gentlemen, it is time to move Finn on to something else and not just having him continue this with the Judgment Day. It's over. It's done. Let it go to bed. Move Finn to SmackDown if need be. Hell, move Judgment Day to SmackDown and give the MFTs something to do. On to the next match, and this is a match that has us all excited, ladies and gentlemen. The focus since WrestleMania on the Intercontinental Championship has been huge. We saw Javon Evans the previous Monday tell Penta, I'm still coming for the Intercontinental Championship. You and I are going to go one-on-one at some point, and that could be sooner than later. And that was when we saw the debut of Ethan Page all ego. He took on Javon later on that night with a distraction from Rusev. That led to a tag match this past Monday as Penta teamed with Javon against Rusev and all ego Ethan Page. And ladies and gentlemen, what more can I say? A 17-year veteran in Ethan Page, Rusev, a veteran in his own right, Penta, multiple-time champion wherever he has been, whether it's world titles, tag titles, trios titles, now the Intercontinental Championship. I was waiting, be honest, for the turn that didn't come. This was a back and forth. You saw the technical prowess and the physical prowess from Ethan Page and Rusev. You saw the high-flying prowess of Penta and Javon Evans. And all of them just meshed beautifully. This was a match that did result in Ethan Page picking up yet another victory. He pinned Javon Evans in his debut. And in this situation, he picked up a pin over the Intercontinental Champion. We know that Rusev and Penta have been feuding on and off for the better part of the last 8 months or so. So it's very, very intriguing. We've had talks here at the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program about a potential four-way. It's not something I need. I think if you're going to do it, you have to build. So maybe you go to Javon Evans versus Penta at Saturday night's main event. Rusev versus Javon at Clash in Italy. Ethan Page versus Penta at King and Queen of the Ring. But I wonder, are any of these men going to be in the King and Queen of the Ring tournament come June? So you have to wonder, because any one of them, if they win, could be in line for a World Heavyweight Championship match. But again, there's still the SmackDown aspect of that to arrive to as well, which we will cover in just a little while. Now, Ethan Page did use a Fisherman Buster suplex to pick up the pin on Penta in this match, as opposed to the Twisted Grin. And I am okay with that. It is showing his diversity. It is showing his technical skills, his technical prowess. I am here for it. What are we going to see tomorrow night? We'll find out. We will find out tomorrow at 8 p.m. when you join the Raw Patrol. Like I said, I don't need a four-way match, but you can build this right through SummerSlam. Now, if you do the one-on-one matches and then build to the four-way at SummerSlam, I'm okay with that idea. We go to the first of two contract signings on Monday Night Raw, as Adam Pearce went out to sign the newest member of the Raw locker room and the Raw women's division, Sol Ruca, who 3 Mondays ago, I guess now, had her debut against Liv Morgan, confronting Liv and getting that match, non-title, by the way, before she had to go to a last woman standing with Zarya on NXT. So last week we had seen a preview of what Sol Ruca can bring. This was her inauguration, so to speak, signing her Raw contract, saying, yes, I am here, and now I am going to bring it. She was interrupted by our women's Intercontinental Champion, Becky Lynch. This intrigues me. We were wondering who was going to come out and cause it. And Becky Lynch's name had been put out there probably because of the match that Soul had with Liv. Is this where you want to start? Soul Ruka is right into this title picture. Olu12, welcome. Thank you for stopping in. I apologize for not seeing your comments before. We appreciate you. Glad you're here. How did you find the show? Anyways, Becky Lynch came out, ran Soul down, and asked where was her celebration for winning regaining the Intercontinental Championship, regaining all of that momentum and building to that stuff. Becky saying again, she is the greatest women's wrestler of all time. It's not just her saying it. Sports Illustrated says it. The Bleacher Report says it. Soul cut her off, referring to her as a big-headed witch. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am paraphrasing here. Signs her and then signed the contract. She did warn Becky that if you interrupt me again, not only will I take your title, but I will snatch your soul. Which we did see Becky try a sneak attack, which Soul went to the second rope, nearly slipped, but then caught herself and managed to hit the Soul Snatcher on Becky Lynch. Is Becky Lynch a transitional champion in this situation? I know, and I've been on record saying that I think Becky uses that championship as more of an aesthetic and a set piece as opposed to really putting a shine on it. But now you're going to look to Hot Shot, Soul Ruka, right into the Intercontinental title picture. I wanted the finality on the Women's Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. Maybe we did get that, or maybe we get AJ Lee returning again for SummerSlam to get the title back. I don't know. I wanted some finality on it. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm not a fan of hot-shotting people into the title picture. I think we need to let Soul build some momentum, pick up some wins before we can go to that. And I'm not saying don't put Soul in the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. Let her go into the tournament. But again, don't rush her to the finals. Let her pick up a win, go to round 2, maybe the semis. Don't have her go right to the finals because we don't need these women hot-shotted. Let them build. Let them cook because we know that the women's division is as hot and as strong as it has ever been. And no matter what Soul is going to do, build that momentum. Let her establish herself and make a name on the Raw roster. Because if you're not familiar with her work in NXT, then you're going to be sitting there asking, why is she in this title picture right away? We then did see Jacob Fatu arriving to the building, ready for his contract signing in our main event segment. But we went backstage again, and we saw the Vision, Braun Breaker, Logan Paul, and Austin Theory berating Joe Hendry and Seth Rollins when Paul Heyman reminds them, is Seth Rollins still alive? Is Seth Rollins still breathing? To which Braun lamented, yes, he is. Paul told him then the job's not done. We had heard Joe Hendry the previous week sing, Paul, Paul, can we fire Logan Paul? To get interrupted by the Vision with the Street Profits making the save. We knew that Joe Hendry was going to make his Raw singles debut. We didn't know against who. But Paul Heyman told Logan, no, you're not going to face Joe Hendry because we already lost Braun for a while. We've lost Bronson. Brock Lesnar retired. I am not about to lose you because of what you do to Joe Hendry. Theory is going to get it. So we go to that match, Joe Hendry versus Austin Theory. And Joe Hendry is once again out there singing, Paul, can we fire Logan Paul? Before getting interrupted, Logan Paul again saying, I'm unfireable. I am the heart and soul of this business. I am the heart and soul of the company. But Hendry said, I'm just getting to the apology part. It never happened. We got the match underway. And this was a match that needed a little more time to cook, though it was good for what it was. But we did see the Vision get involved. Logan Paul getting involved, of course, though Joe Hendry picking up the win via DQ. The Street Profits came out to make the save. So are we setting up that 6-man now? We know that the Street Profits are going to be gunning for the tag team championships on Raw, as it seems they have been moved back over to the red brand. And Braun Breaker came out and leveled all of them before he himself then got attacked from behind by Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins went to go and set up a stomp, all for Montez Ford to come over the exact same corner Seth was in and do his flip over the ring posts to the outside to take out Logan Paul, Austin Theory, allowing Breaker to deliver yet another vicious spear to Seth Rollins and leave him laying and say, you were this close. So what would happen at Backlash? Again, we will find that out in just a little while. Next up, we move on to the first match of the Oba Femi Open Challenge. This is great for Oba because, again, like I said with Sol Ruca, you can't hotshot them. I wanted Oba to get some time working with some big men. And then we thought we were mistaken because out came the Alpha Academy, Tozawa, Otis, and Maxine Dupree. And it appeared as though Tozawa was going to step up and answer the challenge. He got in the ring, and as he walked up to Oba Femi and looked eye to chest with Oba, he backed down, walked back to the ropes, shaking his head, nope. And Otis stepped forward, and I absolutely loved this idea. I want Oba working with big men because you can't always work the smaller guys. And this was something that I need. And let Oba build momentum before you can put him into a position for winning the King of the Ring tournament, which is firmly where I believe they are going with that. Otis got in some offense, but Oba, again, that clothesline, his power. He did a diving, spinning uppercut. And then he even decided to put Otis onto the middle rope before going in and picking him up to set him up for the fall from grace. This was brilliant. It shows Oba using his mind, saying, I may not be able to pick you up in a proper power bomb to hit this. So let's do this the smart way. And I'm going to use the ring for the leverage. I absolutely loved this moment in this match. Oba picks up the win. Who will answer the next Obafemi Open Challenge? Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to continue with the SmackDown or the Raw review here in just a moment, but we can use your help.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, video games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you have ever wanted your break in podcasting, content creation, a potential collaboration, or to help us out behind the scenes, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle affiliation program. Hit that join button, email us your credentials, tell us how you can help us, how you believe we can help you. We will sit down as a collective and find the right fit. All of that and more, turnbucklestudios.org. Ladies and gentlemen, up next, we had a 6-man tag team match coming up on May 30th at AAA's PLE. I can't remember what it's called, and I do not want to fumble the name, so I do apologize to the fans of AAA and Lucha Libre. We are getting a mask versus mask match between the original El Grande Americano and El Grande Americano. However, last weekend at AAA, we saw during the contract signing El Grande Americano get beaten down by the Creed brothers. So we ended up with Los Americanos, El Grande Americano, Rayo, and Bravo, versus the original El Grande Americano and Los Americanos Hermanos, which we do believe were Julius and Brutus Creed, but we don't know because they were masked up. The no contact order between the two Americanos only applied to Mexico. It didn't apply to the United States. But, it is, and I do have it here, AAA Noches de los Grandes. So I do have it. I did not want to pronounce it wrong. I didn't see it there before. This was an action-packed match. All 6 men can deliver technicality, high-flying abilities, everything. There's a little bit of everything for everyone in this match. We did see the lead plate come into play as the OG Americano laid out Rayo to score the win. But this was back and forth, ladies and gentlemen. I won't call it the match of the night because there were times when I was watching it that it did seem like a little bit of a cluster. But we also know that under Lucha Libre rules, when one person goes out of the ring, another one can go in, and a tag does not have to be made. And that is always an intriguing development in Lucha Libre tag matches. But as a result, Los Americanos Hermanos and the OG won the match. I absolutely love this, but are we going to get this becoming, and I've asked this before, do we see both men lose their mask in AAA only to then go to a new faction versus faction. We know what we know the speculation of who is under the masks on Los Americanos. We know the speculation on Los Americanos Hermanos. Do we go to a new faction versus faction match, or do you move one of them away from Raw and move them over to SmackDown to create new opportunities for them? Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, we go to the contract signing for Backlash Tampa, Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. Roman, of course, sitting at the head of the table as your world heavyweight champion, and Jacob comes out. This, again, I don't think it needed the physicality it got, because you were going to get something more at Backlash. Roman signed the contract and said he was the one that brought Jacob into the company by way of bringing Solo in. But Roman never seems to acknowledge that it was Rikishi and the Usos before him that brought Roman to the WWE. He never acknowledges that it was the Shield that brought Roman to the WWE. Fatu again said, look, I need this. I need this for my family. And then hit him with the Tongan death grip again before signing the contract. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this did not need the physicality that could have been saved for Backlash. Where do we go from here? We will discuss Backlash again in just a little bit. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to look at what to expect this coming week on Raw. So let's come and take a look here, although I am not finding a whole lot for tomorrow yet. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you to our shop while I try and find some previews.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
And ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. And we want you to head over to our shop powered by Redbubble. Support your favorite shows and your favorite podcasters. Wear what we wear. And ladies and gentlemen, all of those proceeds come back into our studios to bring you a better experience. All of that and more, turnbucklestudios.org. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night Raw comes to us from Knoxville, Tennessee, and it will be the fallout from Backlash, which we will discuss so we can maybe make some predictions. But right now, they are not giving us a whole lot to go on. I'm sure we are going to hear from the Vision. We are going to hear from the Judgment Day. Do we hear from Io Sky over what happened at Backlash? Do we hear from Stephanie Vicaire, who was left laying a couple of weeks ago, and we know she is out injured? Do we hear from CM Punk? Because we don't know what is going on with him. Do we get a new member to the Raw locker room? Do we potentially see the Street Profits versus the Vision? We don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing has been given to us. We can speculate that potentially we get Becky Lynch and Sol Ruka. Ladies and gentlemen, all I can tell you is stay tuned tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern, right here at Turnbuckle Studios for the Raw Patrol. On to SmackDown, ladies and gentlemen. And we had the good, the bad, and again, the ugly. So we heard from Jacob Fatu right off the bat on SmackDown. I didn't see this aspect of it, so I'm only going by what I can get here. He spoke about how Roman was always favored, was the golden child, I guess, so to speak, when they were young, and he was seen as nothing. The Usos came out to respond. Jimmy saying that part of him is rooting for Jacob, but the other part is what happened, or the other part of him is worried about what happens if he loses. Will Jacob acknowledge Roman? Again, we will discuss that in just a little bit. And Jay says Fatu is like him and doesn't always think things through because they wrestle based on pure emotion. That is something that we have seen from Jay. I know we didn't get what I was anticipating last night, and that's quite all right. Jacob warned them not to interfere in the match or he will burn down the family tree. Wow. That is an epic, epic threat. Throughout SmackDown, we saw a number of people backstage mourning the gingerbread man, and we will discuss that a little bit later because that is the ugly part of SmackDown that we do need to address. Our first match, first for the Women's United States Champion, had our new champion, Tiffany Stratton, defending against Kiana James, a challenge that Tiffany had issued the previous week, causing Julia to give a death stare to her mentor, her translator, her business associate, whatever it is. This was a good, solid match. I have always been a fan of Kiana James, but ever since her return at the Royal Rumble, she has really stepped it up, showcasing her power, her athleticism. I liked this match, but it wasn't given the time it needed. These two women could have really, really cooked. Kiana James at one point had Tiffany down, had her pinned after a distraction from Julia, but Julia was still arguing with the ref, which took away from the pinfall opportunity, allowing Tiffany Stratton to kick out and eventually hit the PME, prettiest moonsault ever, and pick up the victory. This, ladies and gentlemen, Tiffany was solid as the WWE champion. And I hope that her run with the US championship is going to be just as solid. We have heard Tiffany come out and suggest the US Women's Open Challenge. I am okay with it, but give these women time to cook. Let the matches go. We know that the WWE Women's Division, and I don't care which show or which brand you're talking about, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, it is the hottest and the best it has ever been. The women are outworking the men. Give these matches time to cook. We know that during the US Open Challenge on the men's side, those matches were typically the matches of the night, whether it was Sami Zayn, Ilya Dragunov, or Carmelo Hayes. Let's give the same love to the women, please. But we saw Jacob Fatu and Royce Keys backstage. Royce Keys pumping up Jacob, telling him to werewolf his ass up, go bring it home, bring it back to the streets, because remember, we take what we want. We've also saw Chelsea Green send a video. We know that Chelsea just recovered from a broken ankle, but as we discussed last week on Turnbuckle Talk, Chelsea Green just underwent heart surgery. So Chelsea, get better soon so we can see you back in the ring. We know it was to correct an irregular heartbeat. Chelsea, get well soon. But you have to wonder, was this more of a warning from Chelsea to Tiff, or is Chelsea maybe trying to work an alliance with Tiffany Stratton? Ladies and gentlemen, the battle of the big men. I like these battles. Ladies and gentlemen, the previous Friday we saw Tala Tonga showcase his dominance as he laid waste by himself to Priest and R-Truth, to the Usos, and just dominate the tag division. Well, on Friday, we got Tala Tonga versus Damian Priest one-on-one. And ladies and gentlemen, again, could have been match of the night. And I know you've got to promote Backlash. This was a great, great match. But you've got to give these matches some time to cook and some time to breathe. This was hard-hitting. It was physical. Priest jumped the bell before even taking off his ring jacket. This fight took place in the ring, around the ring, and everywhere. This match, they kept the pace up instead of letting it slow down and devolve into chaos. This is the era of big men knowing how to truly work. We did see Tama Tonga show up a little while into the match. We had Solo at ringside, but Tama Tonga showed up. There were questions that, did he get released along with Tongaloa and JC Mateo? This answered that question, ladies and gentlemen. Tama Tonga is there to stay. R-Truth came out to help. And he took out Solo and Tama, but it did allow Tala Tonga to pick up the victory via the chokeslam. This is a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where you get two men who have a very, very similar finisher. Tala uses the chokeslam. Priest uses the South of Heaven sit-down chokeslam. And I wonder if you would have had to go to a different finisher for Priest in this type of a match. But Tala Tonga picks up the victory. Does this put the MFTs in a position now to challenge R-Truth and Damian Priest for the tag team championships? You chose to make them the dominant faction on SmackDown when you had them defeat the Wyatt Six and subsequently release the Wyatts. I think this is something you need to do, but I am okay with Priest and Truth hanging on to the titles a little while longer. However, I wouldn't mind seeing a crew from the streets form. If you've got Royce Keys and Jacob Fatu talking, maybe you turn them all heel and let Priest turn heel and join them. I would be thrilled with something like that. And Priest has that world title experience. So that is a direction to go. We went backstage. We saw Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley having a bit of a discussion because of their upcoming six-man tag. And we know the tensions that have been there between those two women in the past over their WrestleMania history, but they did set aside those differences to work at Survivor Series. Could it happen again tonight against Fatal Influence? Next up, we see actually Gunther in Nick Aldis's office alongside Paul Heyman. Was this Paul Heyman trying to take over two shows now? Does he have a vision for Gunther on SmackDown? And that way he can keep different allegiances. Because we had seen Gunther attack Cody Rhodes from out of nowhere. However, Gunther was officially welcomed to the Blue brand by Nick Aldis. So now we've got Gunther seemingly has been moved to SmackDown, and I like this move for Gunther. It gets him out of that career killer type of stagnant. Bobby Batito, thank you for coming in, my friend. Always a pleasure to have you here. Great to see you. But Cody Rhodes' music hits, and he makes his way out to the ring. And Gunther says, "This is not how I do business. This is supposed to be my time." But Cody Rhodes goes out to the ring saying he wants the fight now, calling Gunther out. But Paul Heyman interrupts. Rhodes cuts him off, saying, "I didn't call you out. I want Gunther. I want him now." Paul Heyman saying that he is there to solve a problem. And the favor that he owed Gunther was getting him a title shot. Paul then tells Cody that it was not up to him to when this match happened. And it's not up to Cody to get Gunther to sign the contract for their title match that will happen at Clash in Italy on May 31st. Gunther did try a sneak attack from behind again in this situation, but Cody was ready and saw him coming. Sends Gunther out of the ring saying, "I ain't scared of you." We know that Gunther and Cody have history. It was Cody who beat Gunther in the first ever Crown Jewel Championship match, and a match that Gunther said he could admit Cody was the better man that night. I am intrigued by this. Does this mean is this a situation now where you can put a belt back onto Gunther, leave Cody to fight some different battles and come back to it later? Or is this just a way to get Gunther some new opposition? Because we know the SmackDown roster is loaded with competition, and Gunther has history with Cody Rhodes. He has history with Randy Orton. He has history with Drew McIntyre. This can get very, very interesting. And like I said, I think this gets away from Gunther having to do the career killer stuff. And I am great with that because I felt that that had truly, truly painted him into a corner. We see Danhausen having some interactions backstage where The Miz and Kit Wilson tried to lure him into a trap. He takes some of The Miz's money out of a briefcase, and the trap doesn't work. Miz and Kit Wilson go over to it, all for it to go haywire. We go to yet another new SmackDown superstar versus one that has fairly recently returned. We get Ricky Saints versus Matt Cardona. Bobby, thank you so much. We always appreciate that. We always appreciate your support. Ladies and gentlemen, be like Bobby. Like, notify, and subscribe to all of your favorite channels. Matt Cardona, ladies and gentlemen, I know that it's been a struggle since he's come back. I was hoping we would have done more with him. I'm really, really disappointed in the booking that they have had for Matt Cardona, and I do hope that that will change now in the next little while. But this, ladies and gentlemen, was a match that delivered on a lot of different levels. Ricky Saints is a veteran in his own right. Matt Cardona has the big match experience. We had seen Ricky make his debut against Cody the previous week, and we know the history between the three of those men. Does this Gunther situation align to that? Does Cody maybe need some backup and go and get those two guys? Ricky Saints picks up the victory over Matt Cardona. And ladies and gentlemen, this is why I say Matt Cardona's booking has been disappointing and suspect, to say the least. I don't think anybody would have been upset had Cardona gone into the recent releases, but we know that he was just brought back. Bobby, thank you. Yes, I see that we are in agreement. I would love to see Matt Cardona get into the U.S. Championship picture. We hear from Paige and Brie Bella, our women's tag team champions, who it appears have multiple contenders, and they've said, this is not a nostalgia tour, and they are the best that they have ever been. No, ladies and gentlemen, this is truly a nostalgia tour. We know that Paige's health and her neck issues, she cannot work as hard and as fast as she did at one point. Brie, we know, is a Hall of Famer. She and Nikki had retired. We do know that they pretty much want one run as the Bellas as tag team champions, and then they can really sail off into the sunset. It's not something I need. But they got interrupted by Fatal Influence, who were coming out for their 6-woman tag team match. And they reminded them, look, we've already taken you guys out. We have made a bigger impact on the tag team division and the women's division than anybody has in recent memory. They then got interrupted by the Irresistible Forces, Nia Jax, and Lash Legend, who showed up and wanted to lay claim to a rematch. The Irresistible Forces did happen to lay out Paige and Brie Bella before they left the ring, as Rhea Ripley made her way out to kick off the 6-woman tag. She and Lash had a stare down at the top of the ramp. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Lash Legend is improving week in, week out. I've become a fan of hers, but do not just jump her to the title picture. Let her and Nia cook in the tag division for a little while. Even move them to Raw to give them some other opponents to feud with rather than just the same opponents. We know the women's tag titles can go between brands, and I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. I had a little bit of a bubble buildup. I would let the women's tag division in general flow. If you're going to have those tag team wrestlers wrestle a singles match, have it be on their respective shows, but let them as a tag team go between brands. I would love to see Nia and Lash versus the Judgment Day. I would like to see Bayley and Lyra versus Fatal Influence. I would love to see that mishmash. And ladies and gentlemen, I've said it before, I've said it again. The women's division is hotter than it has ever been. Let them cook. Let this happen. Let these different tag team feuds boil over. Let them play out instead of having to go to multi-woman matches on a regular basis. We did see Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss come out shortly after to kick off this 6-woman tag. And ladies and gentlemen, this was a 6-woman tag that truly, truly delivered. And again, ladies and gentlemen, you are letting Fatal Influence cook. You are letting them build momentum. You had JC take on Rhea Ripley on her first night, resulting in a disqualification as Fatal Influence got involved. You saw JC beat Charlotte Flair the week before. And let JC cook. You can go to a JC Jane versus Rhea Ripley title match. You don't even have to put the title on JC yet. You can let Fatal Influence cook, build up this dominance. Let them win the women's tag titles and use the Freebird rule so that any two of the three can defend them, to let that tension build, let them cook, and let them get up there. I am here for that type of an idea. We are starting to see 3-person teams form throughout WWE, whether it's the MFTs, whether it is Fatal Influence, whether it's Jade, Michin, and BFAB. This match was back and forth, hard-hitting, hotly contested. Even the tensions between Charlotte and Rhea didn't play as big a factor in this match. But we did see a major factor in Jade Cargill play a role in the outcome of this match as she pulled Rhea off the apron as Charlotte went to go and make the tag. Oh, sorry, when Bliss needed the tag, and JC Jane hits the rolling encore to pick up the victory. Bobby coming in and asking, could we see a member of Fatal Influence go after Tiffany Stratton for the Women's U.S. Championship? Absolutely, I could. And this is where I have to wonder if Chelsea Green, when she comes back, we've seen her sort of, I guess, politicking her way to try and get into Tiffany's good graces. Is this a situation where Chelsea and Tiffany could work together to battle against Fatal Influence? Is this a situation where Julia and Kiana James have a split and Julia or Kiana need that extra help? Again, ladies and gentlemen, there are so many moving factors, but that is a fantastic point, Bobby, and I appreciate you greatly. I love your thought process. We did see Fatal Influence leave as BFAB, Meechin, and Jade continued their beatdown as Flair was about to come in and help Alexa. And then they made Rhea watch. So now you can sort of delay JC having to go after the women's world title because you can come back to visit Jade and Rhea one more time, whether you do it at Clash in Italy, whether you again wait till King and Queen of the Ring. But this is not something that can really wait now until SummerSlam. But I think that match is too big for Saturday night's main event. Ladies and gentlemen, one more break, and we will continue on with the show. But please, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at everything we have coming up for you each and every day of the week.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday night, we are on call as the Raw Patrol is on duty at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday, we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursdays, we roam the jungle with the Boar's Nest at 9 p.m. Friday, we invite you to come for a ride with the SmackDown Security Detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday, be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. And later in the day, the Locker Room presents Rasslin Recap delivers at 7 p.m. Always be aware that weekend shows can vary in times, as the PLE Patrol and other watch party streams are always a must-see. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day and watch all of the latest episodes on turnbucklestudios.org/shows. And please do not forget to drop a like, follow, and to subscribe to all of our channels, and when the time is right, all you have to do is tap in.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. And there you have it, our weekly calendar. There is something for you each and every day of the week. We want you to meet the team behind those shows. Myself, Chris Parrish, Chris Best, Bubba Duke, Logan Thompson, and Carl Carafel. Click on each of our individual links to get all of our socials, as well as watch our latest weekly live episodic shows. And just a programming note, Saturday Night Gaming from last night is going to Sunday Night Gaming tonight, as this show got bumped up due to familial obligations. And again, ladies, we want to wish you all a very, very happy Mother's Day. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, please, like I said earlier, be like Bobby Petito. And like, comment, and subscribe. Get notified each and every time we go live. Mr. Best telling me that CBRS or Saturday Night Gaming will go live at 8 p.m. tonight. So thank you, Mr. Best. There we go. We have it official. Based on what we had seen earlier in the night, we actually got Tama Tonga versus Royce Keys. And Solo had told Tala, you know what, he wants to go out there and do this himself. Let him go out and do it himself. Though we did see Tala Tonga and Solo Sikoa at ringside for Tama. This, again, was a hard-hitting, physical match. But again, not really given the time it needed, but it did what it needed to do. Again, a battle of big men. Because Tama is no slouch, and Royce Keys, well, he is a powerhouse. This really built up Royce Keys, and maybe it is setting the stage for him to go on a dominant run. Could we go to a Royce Keys versus Trick Williams in the near future? Quite possibly, and I would be there to see it. Keys did defeat Tama off of a spine buster, and we did see the MFTs looking on somewhat disappointed. They did not get involved. They did not cause a distraction. They did not do anything there to create an issue for the match. But I needed a little bit more from this match, whether it was time, because we know that these two guys hit hard. And maybe that's what the point was. These two guys just beat each other into oblivion. I've been saying for a long time, we need somebody that can come in and do a ground and pound, not necessarily hit a finisher, but have somebody like a young Brock Lesnar who could go in, dominate, and technically win the match on a TKO. Get that 10 count in the ring on a regular basis. Or something like Big E used to do when you go for the pin, and out even before Big E, the legend, the man, the myth, King Kong Bundy would always ask for a 5 count. And I would be okay with something like that. Royce Keys can talk. Do we get an affiliation with him and Jacob Fatu, or do we go to a rivalry between those two? I know that it seems to be where Mr. Best is leaning. I would like to see some unity and let a street faction come up. And whether you bring in a Damian Priest to build that 3-man unit, or if his contract is truly up, whether you go to a Mike Santana from TNA, that would be absolutely huge. And think of the dominance, especially if you could bring in a Mike Santana with Damian Priest. They are both from the streets of New York, so you could right there do your tag team champions again. And yes, I would like to see Priest get back into the world title picture, but you could go to Royce Keys as your US champion, Jacob Fatu as your champion on SmackDown. And I think that personally, after Backlash, which we will cover very, very briefly, should be what we do. But on to the ugly. As I mentioned earlier, we had seen throughout several backstage segments people mourning the gingerbread man. Quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, this was a segment that I could have done without on SmackDown. We know that Trick had been referring to Sami Zayn as the gingerbread man leading up to WrestleMania. We saw it the week before when Sami laid out a mannequin and started beating up a costume. Give me a break. Now you bring out a casket. Sami came out and said, like, how ridiculous is this? We are having a funeral for a costume. Trick, I know the money you spent because the casket is solid oak. You've got the champagne. You've hired a choir who were off key. So yes, you did have that comedy aspect to it, though not delivered in a comedic role. But again, we did see the gingerbread man sit up, come out of the casket, and attack Sami with a kendo stick, revealing himself to be Little Yachty. We have been seeing the teases for a double turn between Sami Zayn and Trick Williams. And I did not see that. I did not get that feel. I get the feeling that Trick Williams, who has already said we need to get rid of the US Open Challenge, is trying to stay heel And Sammy is just getting booed out of the building. For what? Because he's calling out the idiocy in all of this. Thank goodness that we are done now with the gingerbread man and that whole aspect. I hope. I pray. I beg, and I am not a religious man, ladies and gentlemen, but please, can we be done with all of this? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to run our help and shop ads again as we prepare to discuss Backlash.
A Turnbuckle affiliation program is looking for more people. If you have passion level for pro wrestling, sports, videos games, or something else, then Turnbuckle Studios is the place to be. If you have ever wanted to pursue content creation and want to join our team, then we would love to have you. Check out turnbucklestudios.org or contact us by email today because your future is now, and we want you to tap in.
The Turnbuckle Studios store is open for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the merch and represent the best from the shows you watch on a weekly basis. Multiple styles to choose from with over 10 products available. Don't get left out and pick up all your favorites today. Find us at turnbucklestudios.org.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, there you have it. Turnbucklestudios.org is your home for the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Email us your credentials by hitting the join button. Tell us how you can help us, how we can help you. And we will sit down as a collective and find the right fit. While you're there, head over to our redbubble.com powered shop. Support your favorite shows and your favorite podcasters. And as a reminder, all of those proceeds come back into our studios to bring you a better experience. Before we get into Backlash, ladies and gentlemen, for coming up this coming Friday for SmackDown, more fallout from Backlash. Again, that is all we know. We don't know who is scheduled to appear. We don't know any matches. Everything is being kept sort of hush-hush right now. So, again, stay tuned for the SmackDown security detail this coming Friday at 8 p.m. with Chris Best, myself, and others. Backlash last night, ladies and gentlemen. My opinion, better than what WrestleMania was. We opened up with Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker in what was a fantastic match. Now, this was a match I did not expect to open the show. I did anticipate Io Sky versus Asuka to open, but I was good with it. And again, ladies and gentlemen, these guys delivered. Rollins, in the end, distracted himself by trying to kiss Heyman goodbye and wasn't able to get the stomp. We even saw Braun Breaker counter the Superplex Falcon Arrow combo as he was the one to deliver the Falcon Arrow off of the Superplex. Rollins able to counter the spear with a pedigree, which we've seen. But it wasn't enough. Braun Breaker, I did have Seth Rollins picked to win because you could then continue this build. But Braun Breaker hits his spear off the ropes, full bore, picking up the win. And now Seth Rollins is left to wonder, what next? Because Seth is going to need some backup now, I believe. And I don't think he's going to have the backup because very, very little trust exists for him in the locker room. Breaker has the vision. This was, for me, Braun Breaker's signature match. Something tells me that Braun Breaker and Obafemi are going to meet in a collision in the King of the Ring tournament, and that is going to really be your determination for the King of the Ring and who is going to get the title shot come SummerSlam. Up next, we just discussed it, the death of the gingerbread man, the funeral of him. We had Trick Williams versus Sami Zayn for the Women's US Championship over on SmackDown. Trick, again, getting popped. Sami getting booed out of the building. Both men used heel tactics. Mr. Best coming in saying he'll need to build that trust and he'll more than likely go to Joe Hendry and the Street Profits. It's possible. And I can see where you're coming from because of the interactions the last couple of weeks. But we've also seen Seth tell the Street Profits, you stay out of my way, I'll stay out of yours. So it's going to be very, very interesting. But Sami Zayn and Trick Williams both used heel tactics. Sami grabbing the kendo stick or the candy cane kendo stick to crack Trick and go for a pin. We also saw Little Yachty use the kendo stick on Sami, allowing Trick Williams to hit the trick shot and pick up the win. I don't see Trick Williams as a babyface needing a hype man. If Trick was staying heel, absolutely. Sami Zayn is another guy that needs to find somebody backstage that is going to help him, because all Sami has done is follow the advice given to him by Cody Rhodes and by Randy Orton. Sami, OMD's offering his services, buddy. Reach out. You know where to get a hold of me. turnbucklestudios.org/hosts. We'll pull something together. And again, maybe Sami needs a change of scenery. Maybe it's time to move Sami Zayn to Raw and let him find some help. Maybe you go back to Sami with the bloodline. Get him that help he needs. We know that the Usos have been back and forth. Maybe you go that route with Sami. Because he, like Jay and Jacob, fighting on pure emotion, not heart, not being the underdog anymore. Just pure emotion and anger. And maybe this is how they can control all of that. The comedy match, the match where we didn't know who was going to be the mystery partner. The Miz and Kit Wilson versus Danhausen and his mystery partner, which turned out to be Minihausen that came out of the cloning machines. Yes, Danhausen had a little person as his tag team partner. Great with it for the comedy aspect of it. I'm glad it wasn't a dominant figure like an Obafemi, whose name we had heard. I had suggested Grayson Waller, which I think would have really played into the comedy. Would have been great if Elton Prince was available to wrestle and could have been in that spot. But to go to a little person, later identified as the man who was El Torito, to play Minihausen. And this match was actually fantastic. All the wrestlers hit their marks. You still had the comedy aspect with The Miz trying to do the fire extinguisher spot. And ended up spraying himself with the fire extinguisher as well as Kit Wilson with it to eat the pin. I absolutely loved this match. This was really the match that I felt probably should have started the show, but it fit right in where it was. And a great, great match. I do hope that this storyline, though, between The Miz, Kit Wilson, and Danhausen is over. You can move The Miz and Kit on to something else. Or maybe you do go to a 3-person unit, bring somebody like a Grayson Waller over who really, now that he is on his own, needs some direction. Ladies and gentlemen, on to what was the match of the night and the match that absolutely stole the show. The match that everybody was begging for at WrestleMania. I'm glad it didn't go at WrestleMania and we got it here at Backlash. Io Sky and Asuka. Again, a lot of reports that Kairi Sane, which is where this initially started, was going to be there. She wasn't. But ladies and gentlemen, these two women delivered on something because this was, again, teacher versus student. Both women having told the other that the one I knew, Io saying, my teacher, this is not the Asuka that taught me. Asuka saying, this is not the Io Sky that I taught. These two went back and forth. Again, the technical prowess of both women, the high flying prowess of both women, submission for submission, pin for pin, high risk for high risk. This was brilliant. Ladies, if you are aspiring to be a women's wrestler, watch this match. This was a clinic. This was a showcase. And after the match, we got respect from both women. Io picked up the win clean with the over the moonsault. Both women shook hands. They hugged. We wondered, do we go to Asuka and Io now teaming now that the respect has been put back into this? But we're also hearing, was this Asuka's swan song? Is Asuka saying farewell because she was given a moment after Io left and she was seen waving? Is this Asuka's swan song? And I've never been a huge Asuka guy, ladies and gentlemen, but I will admit she is a first ballot Hall of Famer. She has done a lot for not only Japanese wrestling, but women's wrestling and helping the women's revolution and women's wrestling in WWE become what it is today. So if she is retiring, thank you, Asuka. I hope not, and I can't believe I'm saying that. I hope not. But if you are, take on a managerial role. Lead some hungry young charges. Help develop them. You have a mind for this, Asuka. Thank you. We love you. And on to the main event, which I'm going to say it was perhaps the weakest match on the card, even for the build and for everything that they could have done. This match, I felt, was perhaps the weakest of the night. Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. Now, we had absolutely no interference from the Usos, from Royce Keys, from anybody. This was straight up one-on-one, physical, powerhouse versus powerhouse, Samoan versus Samoan. We saw Roman pull out the overdrive, a move we haven't seen in a while. Jacob caught a suicide dive from Roman on the outside with the Tongan death grip, something we don't see very often. This was vicious. This was brutal. We did have them go out of the tape. It did take Roman a number of spears, although none were as powerful as the final blow, which he hit coming off the ropes, a la Braun Breaker, to get the pin. At the end of it, even after it was all said and done, Fatu was seething, standing tall, holding the championship because he did put Roman out with the Tongan death grip. But it was too little, too late. Are we seeing Jacob Fatu return to his roots as a heel? Are we seeing Jacob Fatu do something contraband in WWE? Is that where we're going with Jacob Fatu? Is this now Jacob Fatu going to burn the whole family tree down? He got what he wanted, which was no interference. So, where do we go with Jacob? Personally, I think the idea of him going after Cody, and I think you could do. I mean, if you've got Jacob, Gunther, Obafemi, those three big men in the King of the Ring, even Braun Breaker, you look at just how hard of a hitting tournament that could become this year for the end of June. Who wins? Who wins? Because nobody is going to lose. And ladies and gentlemen, one last bit of news. We had some history-making news delivered by the man himself, John Cena. As before the main event, he came out to announce the John Cena Classic. And this was based on everything that happened from John Cena's last match in December. Seeing the NXT versus WWE. And this is one where the WWE Universe will pick the champion. This is not going to be a championship won or lost in a match. This is the WWE Universe making their voices heard. And what we have to ask, are the champions, is there a male and a female? Is it one champion voted on by the people that can change via fan vote? I don't know. We are going to have to look more into this, but we do know that any wrestler, even if they lose their match, can still be crowned the champion if the ref or if the fans approve their hustle, their respect, what they can do. And it is getting its own title. He is commissioning the championship belt itself. So, ladies and gentlemen, what will happen this week on Raw? We have the fallout from Backlash, and we are 2 weeks away from Saturday night's main event and 3 weeks from Clash in Italy. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me here this afternoon. I appreciate it. If you're looking for us, you know where to find us, turnbucklestudios.org/hosts. I would like to remind you all, ladies and gentlemen, that the world is better with you in it. From all of us here at Turnbuckle Studios and the Locker Room Breakdown, to those of you out there wherever you are, good night, good luck, happy Mother's Day. I'm out.
In the locker room, a guy you'll find loves bad hockey teams, can't deny his the game is clear.